Our chalice lighting this morning is on a delay. Here, let's see. We better? Our chalice lighting this morning is a little complicated. We'll see. How about I just be loud? That could work. There we go. That was fascinating. I was on a solid half-second delay, and so it was like I was a very creepy voice of God. Nobody really needs the voice of God to be creepier. Anyway, good morning. Our chalice lighting this morning is from Jennifer McLaughlin, who says, as the first hint of green begins to peek through the ground, as that little sprig grows into a healthy stem, refulgent with hope, as that stem grows into a stalk and forms a bud that becomes a flower slowly opening with each new day, so too do we emerge, ready and willing, with a new energy to face all that comes our way. We light this chalice to bring a glimmer of that warmth, that hope, that faith in our own emergence here into this space. Good morning.
My name is Lisa Rubenstein. I'm on the Board of Trustees. The theme this month is delight. The definition of delight is extreme pleasure or satisfaction. How often do we experience delight in our daily life? In our congregation, through our visioning and strategic planning process, we've been asking ourselves, how can we have more fun together? In our mainstream culture, often especially in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, there is little emphasis on delight. And yet I think we all come here seeking joy. Today, I want to share with you two brief readings on finding delight among the small things in life, regardless of challenges. The first is from a 10-step program. I am a grateful Al-Anon member, and I often look to the book Courage to Change, One Day at a Time, for wisdom. This reading really spoke to me. Today's reminder: let me make this day a celebration of the Spirit. There is a part of me that retains a childlike sense of curiosity, wonder, enthusiasm, and delight. I may have lost touch with that, but I know it still exists. For today, I will set my problems to the side for a little while and appreciate what it means to be vitally alive. My second reading is from the poet Ross Gay, author of The Book of Delights, Essays. Ross is an American poet, essayist, and professor at Indiana University. He's won many awards, including the National Book Critics Circle Award for Poetry. Following is the preface to his book, The Book of Delights, Essays. One day last July, feeling delighted and compelled to both wonder about and share that delight, I decided that it might feel nice, even useful, to write a daily essay about something delightful. I remember laughing to myself on how obvious it was. I could call it something like The Book of Delights. I came up with a handful of rules. Write a delight every day for a year. Begin and end on my birthday, August 1st. Draft them quickly. Write them by hand. The rules made it a discipline for me, a practice, like we call a spiritual practice at River Road. Spend time thinking and writing about delight every day. Because I was writing these essayettes pretty much daily, confession, I skip some days, patterns and themes and concerns show up. For instance, I traveled quite a bit this year. I often write in cafes. My mother is often on my mind. Racism is often on my mind. Kindness is often on my mind. Politics, pop music, books, dreams, public space. My garden is often on my mind. It didn't take me long to learn that the discipline or practice of writing these essays occasioned a kind of delight radar. Or maybe it was the development of a delight muscle. Something that implies that the more you study delight, the more delight there is to study. A month or two into this project, delight started calling to me. Write about me. Write about me. Because it is rude not to acknowledge your delights, I tell them that though they might not be essayettes, they're still important. And I'm grateful to them. Which is to say, I felt my life to be more full of delight. Not without sorrow or fear, pain or loss, but more full of delight. I also learned this year that my delight grows, much like love and joy, when I share it.
What beauty calls out to you, demands that you share it, that you speak it or sing it or dance it or fight it out into the world. For 100 years, Unitarian Universalists have been gathering on Sundays just like this to celebrate a particular expression of beauty and wonder that we know as the flower communion. This unique Unitarian Universalist liturgy invites us to bring blossoms rain-soaked or sun-streaked or parched for want of gentle rain. We bring them from our houses, our gardens, our grocery stores. Every person among us takes a blossom, and this is key, a different one than the one you brought. And in celebrating the riotous diversity of the blossoms, we also celebrate the differences, the very real differences in our personal and theological realities. What makes us real is the fact that we come together to share the ways that we are different, and in so doing, dare to create a community that embraces it all. This June, right now, we celebrate the 100th anniversary of this exact same practice of hope and beauty, celebrated year after year, even in the midst of suffering and pain. This time we tell the story for the 100th time while we once again share the blossoms. We remember, we celebrate. Perhaps we have never needed a reminder of the persistence of beauty amidst difference more than we do right now. As more violence tears at the heart of the world, as so many of us reach for hope in our own hardest times, perhaps this among all years is a good one to lift up the power this natural world has to not only transform, but persist long enough to bloom for 100 years.
Come with me as we travel to Prague, Czechoslovakia, in Europe, the year 1923. There was a Unitarian church. Now, the building did not look at all like our church. In fact, it did not look like a church at all. It did not have reaching toward the sky like some churches do. It did not have massive doors carved of wood or windows of stained glass. It did not have a chalice, a piano, or flowers. The church had walls, a ceiling, a floor, a door, a few windows, and some hard wooden chairs. But thankfully, the church had people who came every Sunday, and they were the most important part of the church, because without people, any church is just a building, no matter how tall its steeple. The people of Prague had been through hard times. They had just recently been through 4 years of war. Many people in Prague had been divided about the war. Many had lost loved ones or had been hungry or scared, and even though the war had ended, many bad feelings still remained. The church also had a minister. His name was Norbert Chapek. Reverend Chapek had been the minister of this church for 2 years. Every Sunday he spoke to the people and they listened, sitting quietly on those hard wooden chairs. When he finished speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they went home. And that was all. No music, no candles, no food. Now Reverend Chapek, he was a thinker, and he wondered sometimes if there might be something, perhaps just a little something more spiritual. He wrote some songs and the people sang them, and it helped, but something was still missing. The church went on as before. One spring morning, near the end of May, as Reverend Chapek was out for a walk, he noticed the birds singing and the flowers blooming and felt the sunshine on his face. How beautiful the world is! And then an idea came to him. The next Sunday, he asked all the people of the church to bring a flower or a budding branch to church the next week. Each person was to bring one. What kind? They asked. What color? What size? You choose, he said. Each of you, choose what you like. And so, the next Sunday, which felt like the first day of summer, the people came with flowers of all different colors and sizes and kinds. There were yellow and white daisies and red roses, blue asters, dark-eyed pansies, grape hyacinth, pink and purple, orange and gold, all the colors of the rainbow and more. Children helped arrange them and bring them forward to the front of the church. Flowers filled all the vases, and beauty filled their hearts. The church wasn't so plain anymore. They had created beauty together. Reverend Chapek spoke to the people, and they listened, sitting quiet and still in those hard wooden chairs. Those flowers are like us, he said, different colors, different shapes, and different sizes, each needing different kinds of care, but each beautiful, important, and special in its own way. He said a blessing of the flowers, which called for everyone in the room to see one another as family, despite differences, and to let the spirit of love unite them and help them live more joyfully. He invited each person to take a flower home with them when they left, a different flower than what they had brought. And when the service ended that day, the people turned and talked a little bit more among themselves. And maybe there was some laughter. And then they each chose a flower from the vases before they left and took it home as a gift from their church family. And each year, at the start of summer, they did this again.
Each year, at the start of summer, for 100 years, the people have gathered. And so we gather again, grateful for the beauty of this earth, forever turning, forever holding us in the palms of its own hands. Let's rise as we're able for our hymn, For the Earth Forever Turning. Lyrics will be right up there, and sing together.
Several years ago, on one of our West Virginia service trips, I was working with a group at a house that was on a dirt road. We were sort of in the middle of the hill in a holler, as most of the construction is. And we had this amazing experience. We could see a rainstorm coming down the hill, and we could hear it coming. It got louder and louder and louder as it got to us. And once the raindrops start hitting us, we ran into the minivan we were in and waited out the storm there. But we could hear it getting even louder and louder and louder, and then it was like thunderous on top of the metal roof of the van, and then it receded, and we went back to work. But it was just so amazing. I'd never seen a rainstorm and heard a rainstorm approaching like that. So we're going to recreate a little bit of that by making our own rainstorm. As I walk, I'm going to walk up and down the middle aisle, and as I do a gesture, as I walk past your aisle, you can do it with me, and I'll be changing, so pay attention as I walk back and forth. And same up in the balcony, should be able to see me in the center aisle. So let's make it rain.
for what nourishes us, for what seeps down into the places where we are dry and lifeless and afraid, and makes that first drop of sustenance that eventually brings forth a blossom. We come to this place not inherently whole. We don't insist that when we gather together, we are fully nurtured and that we have it all together, that we have come with our answers complete. But instead, we arrive with our joys and our sorrows, with our laughter and our tears. At any point in today's service, I want to invite you, if you're so moved, to come forward and light a candle for the joys and the concerns that live in the silent sanctuary of your heart. We have candles here and in the back today. I had to move them for the flowers. I'm sure you'll understand. There are a few that I want to lift up for all of us, starting with the fact that we honored the remarkable life of Pat Wand here at River Road on Friday. What a blessing to celebrate her life and her service. We also, just with unabashed joy, welcome our newest baby, Rosalind Verity Martin Scott. Walt and Crescent and Eli just welcomed a new baby girl. Rosalind and Rosie, we'll call her, was born on Wednesday. She's 7 pounds, 7 ounces of absolute perfection. Mom and baby are both healthy, and I know you'll join me with all of our good wishes and love for them. We lift up all of our graduates, every single one of us transitioning from one thing to another, every single one of us on a journey that closes doors and that has us with some trepidation stepping out over new thresholds. And of course, we welcome Pride Month. You remember, of course, that Pride did not start as a party. It did not start as a special section of rainbow objects for sale in Target. Pride started as resistance. It started as the strength in numbers that it took for the people to resist the harm done to them, the hurt, the pain. Pride, they say, was a riot. It was a fight in bright colors for the right to be, to exist, to love. And so may the commingled spirit of joy and of resistance move in us all this Pride Month as we celebrate and as we push back for as long as it takes. Amen.
I have a helper for this part. So we all can appreciate the beauty of these flowers, but we thought that on this 100th anniversary of Flower Communion, it would also be lovely to create some beauty together. And so in a moment, we're going to invite you to make some paper flowers, but first, Hadley and I will demonstrate. So you'll see in the back, there's a basket full of these, and you will fan out each side in turn, and then separate the pieces carefully because they will tear. And as you're doing that, a flower will form, and at the end you will have something that looks like this. And once you've made it, you can hang it on the wall. You'll see there's one up there already with a clothespin. So we invite you to get up if you would like and create some flowers together.
Y'all, look what we made together. And I want to invite you to feel no stress about finishing rapidly the flower which is in your hand right now, because you can pin that thing up at any point in this deeply interactive service. Do you know we do what we do on the timeline that it takes, my friends? And we do what we do in the very messy middle of each other's collaboration. Everything we do in community is an expression of who we want to be in community. And so, when we give of our beauty, of our care, of our time, so many of you give so much of your time, and of our resources, our talent, and our treasure, we give not because somebody tells us to, or because any religious orthodoxy, including the minister standing in front of you, declares it's supposed to be, but because it makes us feel good to lift some of what we have up to the people to the left of us and the right of us, before us and behind us. And so in this time of offering, I invite you to give in a great many ways. Surely you know the drill by now. There is a box in the back. You can give online at our website, and the green button. You can text 73256 in the amount that you would like to give. Any way we give of our time, our talent, and our treasure supports our life together. And as we give in this time, I know that we also receive the abundant reality of music, so important to the life of this congregation.
You are the new day, new day, a new day. I will love you more than me and more than yesterday. If you can but prove to me you are the new day. Send the sun in time for dawn. Let the birds all hail the morning. Love of life will urge me, say, you are the new day. When I lay me down at night, knowing we must pay, thoughts occur that this night might stay yesterday. Thoughts that we as humans small could slow worlds and end it all, lie around me where they fall before the new day. One more day when time is running out for everyone. Like a breath I knew would come, I reach for a new day. Hope is my philosophy, just needs days in which to be. Love of life means hope for me. Born on a new day, you are the new day.
Some time ago, a group of newish and long-time river roaders got together back before the pandemic in person for one of our quarterly UU 101 intro sessions to what's the deal at River Road. Those gatherings are always fascinating. It's because of the people who find themselves around that table. It's because of the stories they have to tell and the wisdom that inevitably arises from all of our many varied, holy hodgepodge journeys that bring us here. So there we were when the question that always comes up came up, namely, what exactly is the point of Unitarian Universalism? Given the fact that we do not believe that we have a corner on truth, or even that our work here affects our literal salvation, it is in every way a legitimate question. I mean, why? I, of course, started in on some long and workmanlike answer that I honestly do not remember. Probably something about how a tent this big with diversity of belief is broad and what we practice here is theologically significant in such a way, but it didn't mean it's for everybody and blah, blah, blah. And when I finally finished my spiel, one of the new people here taking that class came in with her own answer, which was in every single way profoundly better than mine. Remember the question. In regard to this place and this tradition of ours, what, after all, is the point? With no need for any further time for reflection, this new person among us said that in her life there was simply no other place, no single other place, where people with good intention gather across theological and generational boundaries with the express purpose of celebrating their differences. We can talk about pluralism in our society, she said. And I guess you could try to find an intentionally pluralistic social club or gym or book group, but the simple fact is that if you want to do pluralistic community that believes that difference is the blessing, if that inherently matters to you, this is one of a perilously few places where you can do it. This is it, she said, and has been for a very long time indeed. When Norbert Čapek celebrated the first flower communion with his congregation in Prague, they were a congregation torn apart by war, families split and separated, those who had suffered the greatest losses. And even so, the people in that place, gathering in the midst of such trauma, even so, they themselves were still getting used to this idea of being a community connected precisely in and through their difference. For all my looking, I could not find a good historical source for it, but my impression over the years is that there was some measure of conflict among Norbert Čapek's flock, and that their newfound freedom that held them together, it was not always an easy bond. Being different, believing differently, it is not the long, broad, well-trodden road that people outside pretend it is. Beauty amid diversity is hard work. And so the ceremony that Čapek designed was intended to remind the people what a treasure their own pluralism always was, even when the work of upholding it was never easy. So he told his people that these gathered blooms were just like them, different in shapes, colors, sizes, yet each precious, each distinct, each carrying a full story of its own blossoming, arranged in one great and sometimes messy whole. Flowers of 100 lengths and shapes and scents arose out of the scorched earth of the pain we humans cause each other. There before the people in 1923 was the beauty of 1,000 varieties that could not be stopped or squelched, not even by the fires of war. And when all of those blossoms came together, the riotous multitude of it all was surely glorious to behold. The whole riotous multitude of people of goodwill, trying to be together specifically so that we can be different, Beautiful enough to blossom for 100 years and messy too on occasion, because that's the way actual human community is supposed to be. Who wants a manicured bouquet of long-stemmed hothouse roses when a basket full of multicolored blossoms beckons? The message Chapek had for his people is as powerful today as it was then. That underneath and between all that divides us in this world is a unity we believe in this place that makes the whole mess of us something closer to holy. In spite of all of our incompleteness, all our fractiousness and the limitedness of our efforts, we are made whole, or at least a little bit more whole, by the wide open welcome to which we are called to offer one another. The purpose of this place is to incompletely, awkwardly, stumblingly, perhaps, live out a promise which says that those unlike me are fully as human and as worthy of respect as I am, and to sacrifice for the implications of that promise over and over again. If you value that work, that goal of a truly pluralistic community, we are that place, and those places are too few and too far between. The place in a once rented auditorium in Prague that was filled to bursting in 1923 when a fractious and frightened people gathered 100 years ago with their persistent flowers and a vision of a different way of being in community. Now those people are us. We are that place. And what a blessing it is to carry on such a heritage as that. In the words of my colleague, Reverend Kimberly Wildzeski, we gather together because we must keep believing in, working for, grieving for, and demanding the beautiful. And so we give each other roses. We applaud the journey. Say, look, I am a part of you, you a part of me. Say to each other, you have a home among us. Say, this place can be beautiful. Say, we can still make this place beautiful for all the thorns and for all the flowers, for all the sorrows and all the celebrations. We can make this place beautiful again.
And now we come to the blessing of the flowers. This is from the Meditation for Flower Communion by David E. Brumbaugh, adapted by Carl Seberg. This morning, as you came to this place, perhaps you brought a flower from your yard, from along the road, from a forest, from a rose bush by the driveway, or from Safeway down the road. From many different sources, these many flowers have come. Here, piled together, they symbolize the extravagance of nature. For as various as these flowers are, they do not begin to exhaust nature's inventiveness in creating forms and color and beauty. What nature has done for flowers, nature has done for us. We too are products of nature's extravagance. Each of us is unique, mingled together, interacting. We do not become less unique, but rather find our uniqueness heightened. Here in this place, here in this human community, we find fuller dimensions of our individuality, the richer meaning of our existence, the profound delight of this world and our existence in this beautiful yet broken world.
In a moment, we will invite you to take one of these flowers. Take a different one than the flower you brought. Take it not to keep forever and ever. Nothing is forever. Take a flower as a symbol of gratitude for beauty we did not create, for blessings we do not deserve, for joys which come when unexpected. Take a flower as a symbol of your participation in the community of this congregation, the community of humankind, the community of all living things, the universal community. If by chance you did not bring a flower, take one anyway. Take a flower as a symbol that beauty and grace and joy and love are not matters of reciprocity. In this world, we cannot earn or deserve that which is most important. It comes to us as a gift. Therefore, knowing how to receive is fully as important as knowing how to give.
Flowers, adapted from the Reverend Norbert Čapek. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask your blessing on these flowers, messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us amid diversities of knowledge and gifts to be one in desire and affection and devotion to all that is holy. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and of sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of your most holy gifts. May we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all are needed to do sacred work in this world. Amen. As we share our flower communion ceremony, in order to lightly control the chaos, I want to invite you to actually approach either end of the table. You can come up from either side. You can approach from the side aisles. Here in the middle, I want to invite you just to make room for each other, because some will be coming and some will be going. Make it a little dance that we do. Let us give and receive, knowing that love and beauty indeed are not matters of reciprocity, but freely given and deeply welcomed. Khaki just reminded me that if you want to come for some more before you go home, really you can. Literally every year I am terrified we won't have enough flowers and go and buy like 5 bouquets, and every year there are so many left over. What a gift it is that we share and bring with one another. As we come to the end of our service, I'll have announcements in a minute, but I want to take a moment and thank Khaki Power, who's right here. You may or may not know that Khaki and Jane Bayless and some other leaders helped to create the floral beauty that you see here in the sanctuary every single Sunday. It's just a quiet labor of love, and Khaki holds the flower ceremony very close to her heart, and her helpers were my kids this year, so thank you. I also want to lift up, as always, our music program. By the way, and they have been clapped for a lot, but can I just say, Cliff Harden and the choir, we're just singing at Carnegie Hall on Monday and are back. And so just clap. And this amazing ensemble included singers who were pouring their whole hearts into that endeavor last weekend. So thank you for just doing it all. And our tech crew, Marsha and Ajay, thank you so much. We only do what we do because we do it together. There are a great many things I want to share with you about what's happening in the life of the congregation, ways to get connected. First of all, I'm wearing this orange-ish Orioles scarf alongside and in solidarity with so many of you also wearing orange, connected to our prevention of gun violence efforts. This month, you can find out more about what it means to connect with not only our prevention of gun violence efforts, but the larger community of multiple endeavors helping to make this a more survivable world. If you have questions, you can talk actually to Peter Benjamin or to a variety of other folks. Talk to somebody with an orange shirt and get more information about that effort. Today is annual meeting day, which means at 12:30, if you have registered, we want to invite you to be in front of your little Zoom screen, ready to do the business of congregational life. You can log on to the annual meeting by 12:30. All members should have received a Zoom link. If you didn't get your link, or you're confused, or things are befuddling, you can email office@ruuc.org and we'll help walk you through it. Before the annual meeting, however, you have plenty of time to go into the fellowship hall and get some snackies and peruse the full catalog of the spring services auction, which is all up for bid right now. At the end of today's annual meeting, the auction will be open up for bidding and will remain so until June 18th at 6 p.m. So you can visit the website for the auction frequently and see who is outbidding you for whatever amazing, weird thing you want to purchase. There are 150 incredible offerings. You could fill your social calendar, and I hope that you might. There's also a table in the fellowship hall where you could find out more information or get technical help. June 18th is going to be really exciting for us at River Road and with our partners at Scotland AME Zion Congregation, which you know also worships with us in this space. I will just add that one of our members made a bouquet from our flower communion to take over to the Scotland AME Zion service. So we'll spread, Pat, you want to hold that up? We'll spread some of our beauty with them as well. And Montgomery County has centered the heart of Scotland AME Zion in our observance of Juneteenth coming up the weekend of June 18th. So we will have a large-scale prayer breakfast interfaith service at which my colleagues, Reverend Dr. Evelina Huggins and Rabbi Evan Crane, will be preaching along with me and leaders of a variety of faith communities. This celebration of prayer and service is called Zion, a people, a place, a praise. And I hope that you will join us not just for that Sunday service, but for all the reflections and celebrations of Scotland AME Zion at the heart of this community over Juneteenth. We are also joining with members of over 12 other congregations to create the newly UU Mid-Atlantic Network for the Environment. It's called UU Maine because apparently everything needs an acronym. We'll have 6 priority action strategies that'll take place and start to develop over the next 12 months. And you can join with working groups starting in June. You can find out more from the Earth Ministry in our e-weekly. Finally, If you're new, feeling new, and feel like you just might want to count yourself one among this merry band of quirky travelers, we will be opening the membership book for signing next week, right after the Sunday service. That's all the announcements. And as we prepare to take this light we have kindled and this beauty we are so sorely in need of out into the waiting world, may the truths that make us free, the love that casts out fear, and the hope that never dies guide us and those we love and those we do not love forward together till the day spring breaks and all the shadows flee away. Take some flowers as you go. Amen.